Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So looking forward to hearing all of your ideas. And just to remind you, this is still a recorded public meeting, just so everybody knows. So let's start with the first need. And again, this is a brainstorm, no wrong answers, just ideas. The first one was easy to access. So what are your ideas about how to address this need of easy to access?
I would love to see an online option from the state for people to go to. That would, you would click on so Josephine County, and be able to generate it from there. The thought of that is so magical, and people, for the most part, will 100% prefer to do any of their business online now. We still have folks that will come in, and that's fine. Always will have that option. But for me, for example, we just put a new system into place for our dog licensing, and it is an online system. So I just did it for myself for the first time, and it was so easy. And I'm like, this is wonderful. So that is what I would love to see happen. And we have a company that they keep sending us emails, Pavidium, I believe their name is. And that's what their thing is they would just basically be the front. And people would go, and the problem with it is it would be so much better coming from the state. I think people would trust that more. And to me, I mean, I understand what they're doing, but this is a company, I think they're based out of Tennessee or somewhere like that. And I don't know, for birth and death certificates, it's just a better option to have it be like an official thing for people. Because, it's a serious thing to get these documents.
Yeah. Thank you, Janet. So easy access, online option. Other thoughts from the group about easy access, meeting that need? How can we meet that need?
I was thinking oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, you go.
I was going to say, I was thinking sort of similar to Janet in sort of having a one-stop shop. Right now, customers can order electronically through the state through VitalCheck, but each of the different counties has their own some of them have developed electronic options for ordering, but each county has, a different one, or they have to set that up themselves. So it'd be nice if there was sort of one-stop shop for somebody, whether they're getting a record from the state or the county, to be able to send it to the same place by mail, electronic, and not have to keep track of, where they need to order from,
yes,
or how they're going to get billed differently. I think it's something that might be nice for easy access.
Yeah, thanks, David. Paula?
Yeah, I was going to also ask, the state has the electronic version, so yeah, easy access is also for me that they can come to my county or any county to order whatever year, whatever,
yes,
place of birth and death. Because sometimes the offices are closer, somebody doesn't want to do it electronically. We're offering now electronic, and it's going well, and it is per medium that we're working with. Still working some things out, but mainly things are going well. So yeah, that's helpful for a lot of clients that live far, doesn't have transportation,
Mhm.
new moms and etc. So yeah, electronic is great. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, for the ones that want to come to the office, yeah, the 6 months mark or the limitation of the location, it's kind of a barrier for some people.
Mhm. And so many people aren't aware of that. And we've had people really come a distance to get to us. And we have to say, I'm so sorry, but we can't do it. And I know that that frustrates people. And I mean, we always feel bad because knowing that they've driven to us, and I feel like, please just check the website, or call us if you're traveling from a distance, but it still happens and quite often. So, because we've got some really far away places from our office.
Thanks, Janet. Other folks?
I would like to suggest different payment options. If we're talking about going electronic, a lot of younger people do not have credit cards. They use Venmo, they use Cash App, they use all of these payment options, and it would be very nice to be able to accommodate them in that way.
Yeah. So in terms of easy access, one of the needs could also be how do you pay for it? And you might have Zelly and not a credit card.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. Other thoughts about easy to access? How might the need be met of the need for easy access? Other ideas about that?
I think clearer and more streamlined eligibility and other requirements. Any way that can be, as clear and simple as possible for people, both the customers and Vital Records staff, I think would help people get their records.
Yep.
And an option that if there's an exception to the eligibility to receive a certificate, that may be there needs to be a way that you don't just, like Vital Check, if you don't meet the requirement, basically you're done. You can't move forward. There's no customer service available immediately while you're on the website.
Yeah.
So there needs to be, we need to have, Oregon, we need to have those options available for ease of use when there is something that pops up. Oh, you're a legal guardian, but you're not the actual named legal guardian, like for us, the agency. Then I have to go in and I have to create a letter and all of this extra stuff, drop everything, go do that, then come back. And a lot of times, if you didn't save your order, you have to start all over again. So that needs to be accessible to people online during the time that they're on the site.
That makes me think of like an ombudsman type role, where if you have an rather than just saying no, you can't have it, that there is somebody that can look into it, somebody between the Vital Records operator and the legislatures or governor's office, that could review and look at why isn't this being issued? Is it a problem with access that Vital Records can change, or is it like a normal thing that's part of the law? I think something like that might be really helpful.
Exactly. That was what I was looking at. Thank you, Derek.
Yeah. Other ideas, that's a very creative idea in terms of trying to create easy access. Do you have other ideas about what could create easy access for Vital Records? What else could meet that need? We can always come back to it if you have some other inspiration while we're talking. The next topic was printing certificates for longer than 6 months. How could that need be met? Ideas about that?
I guess it really
Isn't that-
does. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, isn't that already in the legislation that it will be made available more than 6 months? I'm not.
Think that might have been in what was proposed, but there is no new legislation that's been passed. The legislation that was passed was creating this work group to look at how to address these issues.
So then, yeah, I think that moves to the top of the list, in my opinion, is how do we make that happen? How do we make it to where the counties can print it more than 6 months, 6 years, 60 years? It shouldn't matter.
I think this all comes back to that ease online. And I absolutely recognize that we're talking about, things that really, this is a program that generates revenue. And there just has to be a balance reached between counties and the state. And that, I think, is the big reason we're doing this work group. And I totally get it. The state makes money and we make money, but that 6-month barrier is so big and we see it week in and week out. And we do have a lot of older folks that live here, and they come into the office and then there's nothing we can do for them. And I think it all comes back to that. It's just easier. And if the state had that website or that, vital records piece, and then you pick your county, and we just need to work out what's going to be equitable for both.
Thanks, Janet.
So Alana,
yeah.
I want to jump because it's part of the conversation flow. I think that that possibly a piece could be for sustainable funding. Why are okay, let me make sure that I've got it what Chad was saying about the indigent fund for death certificates and that kind of thing. So how come we couldn't increase the fee a little bit and distribute that back either to the state, like if a county does something, the state gets a portion, put into the coffers, or something along that nature. That's a thought for sustainability.
Yeah, that's a great thought, Lucy. And that's just the kind of creative thinking I was hoping the groups could come up with, because there's always so many ways to address a need. And that would be one way to address the sustainability, or might be one way to address some of the sustainability needs. Let's, if you're willing, we probably have enough time to tackle one more topic, which is the timely registration of birth and death records. Timely registration, did I say that right? The timely registration of birth and death records. What are some ways that you can think of to address that need? Timely registration of birth and death records.
Require everyone to be electronic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really important, not just for death certificates, but that was brought up a whole lot about getting the medical certification in a timely manner. I also run into that sometimes with newborns. I'm waiting right now. It's been 3.5 weeks since this baby was born, and she's still not showing up in overs. I know that the paperwork was done. I know that the hospital sent it off. Um, Usually it takes about 10 days to 14 days, but every once in a while something gets lost in the cracks and it could be months before it appears in overs. So that timely piece, I think all the hospitals, birthing centers, everybody needs to be required to do it electronically because time is of the essence.
I agree with that 100%. And we've seen time and again, we get records from the hospital and they have inevitably made some kind of error. And I mean, it's painful and people just they want their certificate and,
Yeah. So one way to address the need of the timely registration of birth and death records would be to require all the records to be electronic and all the reporting to be electronic. Are there other ways that you can, excuse me, that you can think of that might address that need?
I think it would be good if there were some penalties in law, some teeth to the law. Right now, there are provisions that if there are more than, for instance, 10 births in a facility, that they have to report electronically. And there are timelines in the law, but there's really not any mechanism for enforcing that. So whether it's a medical certifier or a hospital not staffing enough birth information specialists, there's really no recourse. So I think something that would allow some sort of enforcement, I think, would be helpful. It's nice for everybody to be electronic, and I think it's important, but just because they have a login doesn't mean that they'll actually use it and certify records.
Right.
I think also maybe, when you get a medical license, if you're automatically enrolled in OVERS, that might be helpful.
oh,
And I know that it is a big issue with birth certificates. The two big things there is getting the acknowledgement of paternity paperwork signed and finalized that holds people up from getting their certificates. And then also, like was mentioned, when there's an error on the record. So if hospitals instead put those documents into OVERS electronically, that would, I think, be a great step in making that not be a barrier anymore.
Thank you. Those are lovely ideas. Other ideas about timely registration of birth and death records? Well, then we're up to the big one, and we may not finish this one, but let's go ahead and start, which is sustainable funding. Lucy, you had an idea a couple of minutes ago about sustainable funding, some way to split or share fees paid, kind of calling to mind the Indigent Burial Fund that Chad talked about. Other ideas about sustainable funding?
In thinking about this, the things that I could think of was either getting general fund money, a fee increase, but then customers be paying more, some sort of fee sharing, but then you're just splitting differently the same amount, or service reductions or reallocation of different services, or a combination of those things. I think what can't happen is sort of just squeezing staff further, because there's already an issue with turnover and burnout, and I think that we don't want to make that worse.
Thanks, Derek. Other thoughts about sustainable funding? How else could that need get met?
So
General
I have,
plan.
I have a question
Yeah, Lizzie.
because I'm not real clear. Currently, the counties can distribute the certificates up to 6 months, correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, your
Okay.
people are nodding. Yes.
And so when someone goes into or orders from the county retains the funds for that certificate. Am I correct?
Yes.
And then after that, everything goes to the state currently after the
Yes.
6 months.
Yes.
So there is that definite separation of funds between county and state up to the 6-month limit.
Currently. Yes.
So in other words, the state, if we do make this more accessible to the people, the state is the one that's going to suffer in the long run as far as the funds, because they would lose that past 6-month funding. For say like a child that was born 7 months ago, you have to request it from the state, not the county. And so the funding goes to the state.
Right.
So this idea would help generate income for the counties, but then the state would lose that funding. And that's
Right.
why I think if it goes beyond the 6 month, keep it the way it is for less than 6 months. But if it goes beyond, then split the funding.
We're getting bounced out of the breakout room. You're right. You're right, Lucy.
Yep.
Okay.